Go.
This is the Third and 30 podcast where we believe opportunity is everything, where we break down leadership, mindset, and the moments that shape growth both on and off the field. Thank you for tuning in. And with the holidays here, we want to wish everyone listening a very happy holidays and a great close to the year. We've got a great episode lined up today centered on resilience, accountability, and mental toughness with our guest, Joe Buckner. Before we get started, though, if you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. If you're listening to us audio style, it really helps us grow the channel and the pod. Be sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel for episodes and clips, for full episodes and clips, and follow us on social media to stay connected with everything happening at Third and 30. Let's get into it. I'm Praveen Mantripragada. I'm joined alongside, as always, by my co-host and partner, Coach Jason Chadock. Welcome back, as always, Coach. I want to ask you. I'm gonna dive right in. I'm gonna blind shoot at you right here. I want to ask you. We're talking about mental toughness today. In your experience, I want to ask you: is mental toughness something that you can truly teach, or does it only develop when people are tested and things go wrong? Is it built by adversity?
Wow, that's an awesome question.
Thank you.
I love, and
I
you know
want
what
I
you
want
know what
I
I
want to
love
dive
best?
right in, man. We're back, baby.
You know
Want to
what I
dive
love
right in.
best? I love the fact that we had zero conversation. So you are absolutely catching me in the moment, which I love because you know how much I love a natural reaction.
You gotta have it, man.
And I'm so glad to be back with you, back on air, doing what we do. And it's teaching, it's educating, it is us learning. So mental toughness gets actually broken down into skill sets. Okay. It is not literally just like here's this program and we're just going to teach you how to be tough. We're just going to teach you mental toughness. Mental toughness is a process. Like anything else, it is a process and it is built piece by piece by piece. And yes, to answer your more imminent question of yes, mental toughness is built by overcoming adversities. How do you overcome those adversities is what actually builds that mental toughness, though. It's not just, hey, you overcame that, so now you're tough. No, that's not how it works. You build skill sets within the frameworks. Okay. And I can tell you one of the biggest things, whether you're in the sports arena, which is a huge part of what you and I talk about, whether you're in the business arena, which let's be real, that's a huge part of what we talk about these days too. And you know me, I am a leadership culture strategist. Leadership is a pillar, culture is a pillar, strategy is a pillar. You cannot have a strategy without having a culture. It's culture first. It is leadership and culture first. And leadership and culture first now help you set a platform. Whether you're in sports or business, leadership and culture. Can I repeat this again? Leadership and culture help set the platform so you can evolve into a great strategic plan. Okay. That culture provides the ultimate training ground in which mental toughness can be cultivated because someone's going to say no to you at some point. There are people that are leaving high school, going to college, and in a lot of cases, they've been patronized their whole life and it just like never told no. And you can't live a life just never being told no, never having to work through something, never having to go prove yourself. And that is one of the greatest things. So I'm so glad you asked this question. Mental toughness comes with skill sets that we incrementally learn both through situation. Yes, overcoming adversity. I cannot encourage you enough to read leadership books. I don't care what your age is, read leadership books. Absolutely read leadership books because they also give you little tips. The mental toughness piece gets built by little tips, little skill sets that you learn through time. And eventually, you can really become sustainable in that mental toughness arena and get known as someone who is mentally tough by continuing to build these skill sets. And it's little skill sets. It is, yes, how do you cope with adversity? It is, how do you deal with someone saying no? Where does your mind go in that part? Something negative happens to you or your organization. And do you understand the concept of, wow, we just got this terrible news about our proposal? Do we understand the concept of taking a deep breath, pausing. And if you're watching, you just saw me literally take the deep breath. If you're listening, you probably just heard it. And do we know how to come back to a balance and then look and evaluate what we did, how we did it, read what the company was expecting, and really critically evaluate that to see, did we do what was asked, or did we meet the criteria they were looking for? And then setting the stage for, here's how we're going to do this different next time. And this doesn't all happen in 5 minutes, guys. I'm talking about a conversation that happens over an extended period of time, not a 5 minute thing. This could be weeks of how we go through it. But this is where you truly get that mental toughness. And then obviously in the sports arena, you have that opportunity just about daily with overcoming the adversity of missing a play, making a mistake. You have the opportunity to build each other up. And that's something we don't do enough as a society, is build each other up. And how do we build each other up? And how do we create that mental toughness that's based on confidence? Because that's another skill component, is confidence. Preparation is another skill component. Preparation breeds confidence. Confidence breeds the mental toughness to stand up to the adversity, whether it's in the moment or over an elongated period of time. Leadership, culture, strategy. Those are some keys. And boy, that was a great question. Holy cow, I'm all fired up already now. This is kind of my
That's what I'm
jam.
here to do, man.
This is what
That's
I
what I'm here
do.
to do. I want to highlight a couple things for me. When I'm, sometimes I feel like we listen to a couple leadership podcasts, and it's kind of like a New Year's resolution, and we listen to a couple leadership podcasts, and then we think we got it, and then we move on, and then we stop listening to, maybe we don't listen to another one, or we stop listening to that one. And uh, and I think what's detrimental to that is you kind of lose track of it, and you kind of maybe get a sense of blind confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
confidence that's kind of not maybe credible in some ways, and it can kind of get you in trouble. And I only say that because I'm that happened to me. And so when I was coaching uh pretty much full time, I was coaching football and baseball. And I mean, each sport you could say is year round in its own way, but then when you're doing two of them, it's definitely year round. And it, I was listening to these podcasts and every morning, and then I moved on to a different job, and I kind of moved up pretty quickly in that job, still in the sports world, still leadership, still coaching in ways, still training, all that kind of stuff. And then, but I stopped listening to those podcasts, and I stopped kind of developing myself. And then I got too big of a head on my shoulders, and I lost track of accountability, and I lost track of responsibility, making bad decisions, not thinking about the whole and thinking about self. And, I realize in that sense that's part of the teaching aspect in the question that I asked is it can be taught, because it's self-teaching and then also self-motivation, but it's getting yourself out there to understand that you're always learning. This is a never-ending process that we're talking about here. This doesn't stop. This is something where it's always, we have to find ways to learn and get better, and adversity is gonna come whether you like it or not. So the second part of that question is towards, can you learn, can it be taught, or is it only through adversity? I think both. And I
Mm-hmm.
think adversity, no matter what is going to happen in life, and there's no way you can run from it. And it's good in some ways. Adversity can be good in some ways depending on how you take it. And then on the other hand, it is important to be taught and to learn, whether it's someone teaching you or you finding it within yourself to go teach yourself. You can be taught mental toughness, and there is ways to prepare. Almost, our parents with young children are always trying to keep them from something bad happening. Well, that's sort of the teaching aspect in a different way for children, but there's a way to be aware of your surroundings, to be aware of what's going on, and be aware of situations, and sometimes being aware of the writing on the wall and not waiting till it's too late. And it might be thinking this is a negative way of thinking. Well, it's just, again, adversity is a part of life, so it's a way to embrace it. And something I've said over the last handful of years, just as I am you're class five overthinker, and you start thinking about all the things, and then you start digging deep into things that you don't really need to be digging deep into. And for me, I start, what kind of helped me personally is kind of an interesting saying that I want to say I can coin myself, because I haven't heard anyone really say it in these terms. But once you realize life kind of stinks, it gets a lot better. And I'm not trying to say life
That's a good
sucks,
one.
because it doesn't. But once you get into the understanding that, look, stuff's going to happen and adversity is coming my way. And it's just a matter of not, and I can't be ready for each specific adverse thing that happens in my life. But what I can be ready for is how I'm going to handle it and make sure that I have a tough head on my shoulders, not a big head on my shoulders, right? And so that's something that I tell myself is, once you realize life is kind of tough and rough and sucks sometimes, life gets a lot better. And I've become a lot happier just at a base level, thinking that way. But I want to get the conversation going. I think our guest Joe Buckner, he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman. He's runs a wonderful gym in town here in Northern Colorado, and I don't know how far it spreads, and we'll ask him when we bring it on, because I know he's franchised it. But he comes from some of the deepest adversity that you can talk about. When you talk about, getting in trouble and losing your freedom in ways, and not having a home and not having a roof over your head, guaranteed to sleep over your head when you're sleeping at night. And so I'm excited to bring him on, because the mental toughness aspect is something that I'm curious on. How does he handle it both ways? How did he
Hmm.
handle it through adversity, and how was he taught and educated in terms of how to be mental tough? And maybe it was through life, because when you think about some of these things we're going to talk about with Joe, he could have learned it all just from the adverse situations that happen.
Very
Sometimes
true.
the adverse situations are tough enough to where you don't necessarily need to be taught, and those are lessons that
Right.
stick with you and every single day, right? So excited to bring on Joe. It's going to be a great interview, I feel like, and really interested to dive in. I want to tell you, I shared with him the questions beforehand, and wanted to, first of all, make sure, like, hey, we good diving in,
Yeah.
and he responded back saying, "I'm excited. I don't, haven't really seen questions like this before." So
That's
I,
awesome.
he's a guy that's, if you look him up, Joe Buckner on social media, he's got a pretty big following. He's a pretty popular guy in the area. He's a really well-to-do man. I'm really excited to have him on. But he's been interviewed a lot, is kind of my point there. I'm excited for him to dive in a little bit with what we have to offer him on the podcast, and really excited for an interesting conversation, because we it might get deep here.
Yeah, it might. And let me throw in one more thing before we go to Joe. There's two forms of learning that come back really critical, and depending on which school of thought you're from, there's a leadership school of thought about learning, hey, something didn't go our way, and that mental toughness piece is, what is the lesson we learned from this? How can we improve? Then there is another take that I know a lot of our audience looks at as well. And you see a lot of athletes talk about this routinely. There's a religious aspect that also looks at when something doesn't go our way, or when there's this adversity, or trying to break through that wall, and there's that mental toughness look at it. It is, a lot of people look and say, well, when God closes a door, he opens a window. And what is that
Mm,
for us? What does that mean? Why did this opportunity, or why did this thing not work out? Why did it not go our way?
mhm,
And yes, what is my lesson? And also, what is this window I'm supposed to go through, and where is it going to lead me? And what is it I'm going to learn going through that window? And how is it I'm going to be better and stronger and more agile? That is another
mhm.
thing people don't talk about enough, is that agility. There is an agility to mental toughness and to leadership. There's a definite agility. But I'm going to quit rambling, because I want to get Joe on air. I'm going to turn it over to you, boss.
Yeah, let's make it happen. Let's waste no more time. And you could tell we haven't done a podcast in a while, right? Because we just got a lot to get off our chest. But let's bring in the man, Joe Buckner. We're excited for this interview. Enjoy. Today, we are thrilled to welcome to this episode's guest, Joe Buckner, entrepreneur, performance coach, and the founder of Beautifully Savage. Joe's journey is built on resilience, accountability, and relentless self-ownership. He's gone from homelessness and incarceration to building a successful coaching and fitness brand centered on mental toughness, discipline, and purpose. Joe doesn't just talk about leadership, he's lived it through his work. He challenges people to embrace discomfort, confront their past, and develop the grit they need to win in business, relationships, and life. His message is raw and real. We're excited to dive into Joe's story, his philosophy on leadership and motivation, and the lessons learned from fighting through life's toughest battles. I'm honored to welcome to the Third and 30 podcast, Joe Buckner. Joe, first, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a busy guy, and so I'm really honored to have you on here. I know we honestly connected just recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, but it's awesome to have you on the pod and have you be on you. But I want you to first, before we dive in to your story, I want you to tell our listeners a little bit about Beautifully Savage and the story behind your business.
Yeah, no, thanks for the bio. I'm like, wait, who's he talking about? Is that me? No, man, that was dope. Beautifully Savage is a boxing fitness franchise that I founded in 2016. And really, I wanted a place that we could remind people that they're worth fighting for. Fitness is about this much of what we do. The big bulk of it is just holding up a mirror and reminding people that they're worth the fight. So boxing is my little spoonful of sugar that I use to help with that. We've been open since September 2016. We have two locations. We have a licensed location in Cheyenne and two Fort Collins locations that are corporate owned. And we teach boxing-based group fitness. So we have some classes that are strength and conditioning, but based around how combat sport athletes train. So you won't see a lot of bicep curls in our classes, but you'll see dumbbell snatches, cleans, box jumps, things of that nature. And then we have boxing classes that are, mix of heavy bags, mitt work, shadow boxing, and then conditioning on the floor. So I think we've got a pretty well-rounded program, and Beautifully Savage to me is the best boxing fitness concept in the country. So if anybody wants to open a franchise, I got them.
Where did you come up with the name Beautifully Savage? Where does that come from?
But honestly, um, like most good names, it just came up kind of out of nowhere. So for the longest, I actually had a little side business where I would help like busy executives who didn't have time to shop. I would like shop for them and get them dialed, like, so they had an event coming up or something. And I wanted to turn it into an all-encompassing wellness program for men. So I called it Beautiful Savages. And then in 2016, I did that in 2012, and then I just kept it dormant for a while.
Okay.
And then when I was going to open my gyms, I wanted a name that wasn't local, number one, because I knew I was going to franchise someday. So Fort Collins boxing wasn't going to cut it. Old Town boxing wasn't going to cut it, and needed something that could go beyond the four walls of the gym, but also that people could get emotionally attached to. So one day I was just sitting with a friend of mine who helped me get things started back day, and I just said, what about Beautifully Savage? And she said, I've never heard those words used that way before. And I said, well, boxing is beautiful. Like when you watch a great fighter, it's beautiful, right? When you watch
100%.
like Terrence Crawford and Canelo fight, like it was beautiful, that dance. But it's also incredibly savage to ball up your fist and hit someone until they're unconscious, right? Like it's both, right? But if you
So
think
like
about it,
so like Joe, Muhammad Ali was beautiful to watch, and Mike Tyson in his prime was a savage.
savage and beautiful,
And
right?
really, yeah, there was a
head
beauty in
head
knocking
movement,
someone out in one
defense,
punch.
like
100%.
yeah. And so but if you think about it, like life is beautiful, right? um a sunset, getting married, seeing your child be born, all beautiful, but life can also be incredibly savage to each and every one of us at some point. We're all going to have life take a shot at us. So it served those two purposes. And then the last one was a more human element. Like inherently, we're all beautiful. If you take five little babies of different races, creeds, socioeconomic background, they're going to just sit and play with each other. But then when they get about 6, 7, 8, 9, and people start saying, well, that one's different than you, like they're not the same, that's when like we start to splinter off. And so I believe that we're all inherently beautiful. God made us beautiful, but all of us have a dark side. We all have that little savage in us. And it doesn't always like show it negatively, right? Like someone threatens your family, that savage will come out, right? So like, and
Amen to
so
that.
I don't believe we can have a whole human experience if we don't at least acknowledge that that exists.
Yeah.
And so that's where the name came from. And, you know, it's been cool because it's been able to, again, extend beyond our four walls. The documentary that was made about me is called Beautifully Savage. It's helped us, you know, sell shirts and hats all over the world, really. And so I just wanted a name that meant something to people. And I think we did that.
That's a great name. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that. And I want to say it's a beautiful name, beautiful story. So it
Thank you.
makes
Thank
sense
you.
that beautiful's in the name itself. I want to talk about maybe a little bit of the dark side that you were mentioning in your life. Your
Yeah.
journey has taken you from homelessness, incarceration to founding this successful gym and coaching business. What was the single biggest mindset shift or turning point that helped you transition from so-called survival mode to building mode?
Man, that's a great question. I would say the biggest mindset shift for me was the fact that if I'm the problem, then I'm also the solution. Oftentimes it's easy to look outward and go, well, you know, this happened. I was born poor. You know, my dad left when I wasn't even a year old. My stepfather was alcoholic and abused my mom, and I had to watch that. And here's all the reasons why my life should be hard. But I get to choose, right? Every day I get to choose what my life looks like. And the pen is always in all of our hand. We just have to decide what we're going to write next. So everything that was supposed to happen that was bad already happened. What happens next is up to me. So it was a choice that was given to me actually when I was in prison. Really, an old timer pulled me aside and he just said, "I think you're different, man. You don't belong here." I was like, "Well, I'm here, so I don't know what to do, man." And he said, "Well, this can go one of two ways. You can get around some people that you think are going to help you be better at the thing that got you sent here, and I'll see you back here in a few years, maybe months." He said, "Or you can choose every day for the rest of your life to be the kind of person that never gets sent back to prison." And so, you know, I made that choice. And even when life was tough and when I was homeless, I could have took the easy way out and went back to what I was doing. But instead, I just continued to choose. Like, I know the kind of man I want to be in this world. I know how I want to be remembered. And even if I struggled, even if times were tough, I want people to know like that guy's going to make the right choice even when it's the hard choice, because oftentimes the hard choice and the wrong choice and the right choice are the same, right? So it's just that mindset. Like it's always up to me. I always get to choose.
Joe, I appreciate hearing all that. And one of the things that I love that kind of you like led me right into the next question is you choose and you fight for it.
Amen.
And that's why I love the story you've shared and kind of like incrementally building us up, you know, to here's what it is. Here's oh, you got some ghosts coming out there.
No, it's
For those
Hey,
for those of you not watching this on YouTube, his dog just came in the room and we just saw
Who's-
this door. And I was actually
Just
leading into a
froze
question about the
out.
door opening. So this is really weird.
all
Who
right.
do we have here, Joe?
This is Mace. Say hi, Mace.
Hey,
And then you're gonna
Mace.
go in another room, okay, buddy?
That's a beautiful dog.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, okay, get down.
So
Thank
one
you.
of the things I
Good boy.
love is
Good boy,
you
Mace.
talk about the fight and you talk about fighting solves everything and
Oh, sorry.
fighting is not just the physical form.
Yeah.
So for us, can you walk us through like how you define that fight in the non-physical context? We're talking business,
Yeah.
relationships. You've already alluded to family a little bit. You're going to fight for your family.
Come on.
And we also talk about that fight for mental health. And we were just talking about mental toughness earlier today. And so for us, how do you help people channel their inner fight when they're not in the gym and when that fight is for
Yeah.
life, when that fight is for family? Walk us through that.
Yeah. So what a phenomenal question. Um, you know, one of my biggest things is, like I said earlier, it's just reminding people that they're worth fighting for. So when you think about fighting, right, whether it's boxing, UFC, Muay Thai, like it's dangerous. I mean, 15 fighters die every year in a ring.
Wow, I
So,
didn't know that.
Wow, yeah, me neither. That's
so
a
the
huge number.
reason you step into the ring better freaking be worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I usually ask people three questions. What are you fighting for? Let's define that real quick. What are you fighting for? Because if it's Social media clout, you're going to lose because there's always a Kardashian that's going to have more than you, right? If it's money, you're going to lose because for every person you know that has money, there's a Saudi prince that if they woke up with that person's money, they jump off a building. So you're always going to lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're fighting for has to be big, right? It has to mean something to you. Secondly, who's fighting in your corner? And I have them write it down on a piece of paper because all that is a reminder that you're not alone. If you can even write down one name, you're not alone. And I give them the example. I said, have you guys ever watched a fight? Like a
Mm-hmm.
boxing or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever seen a fighter walk out to a ring alone?
Never.
No.
Right? That's because you need a team. You need support. You need people around you, even to be a champion, right? You need that. And then the last question I ask them is, what's worth fighting for? They'll say, my family, my, my job, my blah, 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 blah. And then before we finish our meeting, I'll say, the next time I ask you that question, I hope the first thing you say is you.
Mm.
And that's what I try to remind people all the time. Like, you are worth fighting for, because if I put myself first, not in a selfish way, I'm not going to spend the mortgage money on Jordans, right? But in am I going to take care of my body the way that I need to so that I can be the best dad and husband that I can be? Am I going to read? Am I going to eat good food? Am I going to sleep? Am I going to be responsible with my money? Like, am I going to do all the things that I have to do to make sure that I can serve my family at the highest point? So if I put myself first, everything else that I do will be first class. But if I don't remember that I'm worth fighting for, then I'll never fight for me. And as men, we can relate to this. Society will tell you that you're supposed to put everyone else first. Society will tell you it's selfish to put yourself first. Don't go work out because you need to go home and sit on the floor with your kids and your wife. And it's like, yes, and if I am a 10, then I can have more energy to play. I can get on and off the floor better. And so the way that we do it at the gym is anywhere, whether it's gym, executive coaching, I just remind people over again, hey, you're worth fighting for. And if you forget, I'm here to remind you. But at a certain point, I need you to look in the goddamn mirror and say, I am worth fighting for. And do it over and over and over and over again until it just becomes how you see yourself.
Joe, you and I need to go on tour together.
Come on. Let's go.
Need to
I'm
do it.
about to run through this wall. Right
We're gonna set this up because what you just told me. So I do performance coaching, training, and speaking.
Dope.
And that's one of the things I do. I've really just broken into this in recent time, and I have this thing someone asked me about, and they asked me about it a couple weeks ago in a meeting. They said, I was checking you out and looking at your website and stuff, and I saw this thing. You just freaking encapsulated why I have this. It is called 24/7 performance development.
Okay.
Because it is your performance development is a 24/7 thing because your sleep matters. What you do for personal fun matters. What you put in your body matters. How you spend your free time matters. How you pour into others matters. And for you to do all of these things, you do have to take care of yourself to show up for everybody else.
Yeah, come on.
You have to. If you are not, if you like, I need to work out every morning before I start my day so I can get myself physically and mentally prepared to start my day. And then it's about putting the protein in me. So that way I'm ready to not just attack the day for the things I need to do. I'm ready to serve others all day long.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm here for. And what you said spoke to me in a huge way because you're like the first person I've really sat down and talked with. Now, sure, you and I can listen to business people or
Sure.
speakers talk on the internet.
Sure.
You even highlighted there's 80 other people fighting for my attention on the internet. I'm saying physically sit down,
Yeah.
get on the computer or get in person and talk to someone who can speak the same language as me.
Yeah. Come on.
This is
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it. And when
Yeah.
you talk about community, you're not just talking about the community of Fort Collins or the community of Windsor or the community of Denver or the community of Cleveland or the community of, Tallahassee or the community of Miami, which the hat you got on. We're not talking about those communities. We're also talking about, the community of Los Angeles. We're talking about the community of people around you.
Yeah. Humans. Yeah.
The community of people that are going to support you, that are going to walk to the ring with you, that are going to fight with you, that are going to help you perform.
Yep.
So I love what you're speaking about
Yeah.
here. It's really
Yeah.
talking to me. And then there's an accountability with that. And
Absolutely.
that's staying central to what you do and how you run your gym and your coaching.
Yep.
So now let's dive deeper.
Real quick, can I give you guys a quick analogy that
Yeah,
I like to use with people?
Please.
absolutely.
Have you ever had someone tell you that you have to make sure your cup is full before you can pour into someone else's cup?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
cool, but like my perspective is a little different. So like this was full when I sat down. I've been drinking out of it though, so it's a little less full. And I'm
Hmm.
going to keep drinking out of it. Eventually it's going to be what?
Empty
Empty.
Why?
because you poured in everybody else.
But nothing's going back in, right?
Yeah.
So make sure your cup is full before you pour into others is cool, but if I'm only full, eventually I'll be empty because no one's pouring back in. So
Hmm.
I believe that you need to make sure your cup is overflowing because then I can pour from my excess, right?
Hmm.
And I'm there. So like I could turn on my faucet right now, leave it on this whole podcast interview. The water's never going to run out. I promise you, I'll take this off and I go like this in a couple minutes. Not only is my wife going to be pissed and there's going to be a mess, but it's going to be empty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like to remind people, like you need to make sure you're overflowing. And so what we're talking about by putting myself first is actually the most selfless thing I can do for everybody in the world that I love.
Amen to that. Yeah, I feel like you just taught me a lesson. I'm afraid to even ask the next question.
Now
That was
bring it.
that was awesome.
We're like, we could just stop now.
What lessons from your time in boot camp and the early struggle informed you on how to build culture and leadership in your teams now?
Oh man, that was a beautiful question. So I went to it was called the Colorado Corrections Alternative Program. It was for first-time nonviolent offenders, and it was based on the Army's boot camp. And it
Oh,
was
okay.
run by some current and some ex-military personnel, so Army, Air Force, Marines, and it was hard. It was 60, 64, 65% failure rate. Like it was hard,
Wow.
but it was designed to be hard because
Sure.
your option was prison or this. And so if
Mm,
you can do this, maybe we don't send you to prison. So I probably learned more there than I did in 3 years of college football, a lifetime of working in business. Those 100 days taught me everything. So it's broken down in phases, 3 phases, right?
mm,
So phase one is the teardown phase.
mm.
Someone who's at rock bottom probably needs to be rebuilt. But like if I wanted to rebuild our house, I'd have to tear it down first. Can't just start building on top of it, right?
Hmm.
So the teardown phase, where they asked us a very simple question. They said, how many of you think you're a man? Now we're all like, street bravado. Everyone raises their hand. And then the drill sergeant said, how many of you have children at home? Almost every one of us raised our hand. He said, how dare you call yourself a man if your kids are at home and you're in prison? And I was
Mm.
like,
Wow.
oh, oh, wow.
That's deep.
But then it was, let's say you're all in my platoon and we're standing on line at attention because we're supposed to just stand there. And sometimes we stand there for an hour. But let's say Jason decides his nose is itchy and decides to scratch his nose. Everybody's in trouble. We're all doing burpees, we're running stairs. Oh, my actions have an effect on everyone around me, not just me. There's a ripple effect. Okay, I'm learning. Perfect. All of our clothes had to be folded Bible size every day. And we had 6 minutes to make sure our room was inspection ready. If it wasn't, they'd come through as a staff and tear the whole thing up and put a timer on and go 6 minutes. Everything had to be perfect, perfect folds on the sheets, Bible size clothes. Oh, the details matter. Those small details matter. Toiletries have to be 2 fingers apart. Oh, pay attention to the details. They make a difference. Awesome. Second phase, great. Now they're going to build this back up. Well, you have a janky rubber pillow. Do you want a nice pillow? Great. Everyone put on every bit of clothing you have, 2 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, 2 undershirts, all your boxers, socks, put your coat, your hat on, gloves. We're going to go run the stairs and we're going to turn up the furnace to about 90. And we're going to just run the stairs for as long as I say. And if you make it, you get a pillow. If you don't, you got to keep your other pillow.
Wow.
Oh, everything that I want's on the other side of some hard ass effort. Cool. Got it. You want better toothpaste? Great. We're going to go out to the pit, which was about half a football field of just dirt, gravel. And we're going to bear crawl and we're going to army crawl and we're going to barrel roll. And then when you're done, you might get some Crest versus the clear gel toothpaste. Everything that I need is on the other side of some really hard work and some challenges. Perfect. Got it. Last phase, hey, we hope you learned something. We're not going to watch you as close anymore. But if you do mess up, just know we got cameras everywhere. You're out of here. Personal accountability. Now I have to actually put these things into action. It's easier when someone else is telling me what to do, but now I have to prove that I actually learned something. From my platoon, I was the only person that got their sentence re-sentenced from being in prison to being sent home. I was the only one.
Wow.
Wow.
Out of how many?
We started with 45 and we ended with 14.
Wow.
I'm the only one that got sent back home.
Wow.
And so I was just learning, man. I was just downloading. I'm like, I didn't have a father to teach me these things. So, my friend Jeremy Thomas, he used to say, man, you're spoiled because you've always been good at everything. People love you. Nobody's ever like, you never had a dad to just whoop your behind. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. He's like, so you're spoiled. So when something gets hard, you just quit. When you don't like something, you just walk away. Boot camp taught me like, nah, a little bit of effort to take you a long way. A little bit of order, a little bit of regiment can change your whole life. And so those are the biggest lessons I learned, not only about leadership, because leadership wasn't always about being loud. It's like who's showing up every day, right? Who's just showing up and doing the work and following the rules. That guy's a leader. That gal's a leader. Teamwork. Listen, man, I get it. Your nose might be itchy sometimes, but when you itch your nose, the rest of us got to do some stuff. So I'm going to ask you to not itch your nose anymore. Can you do that for us just for another week? I think so. I think I can do that, right? I learned how to have uncomfortable conversations. I learned how to be confrontational, but in a non-confrontational way, right? Because like we don't always have to agree. We can agree without being disagreeable. But like if it's for the greater good, me and you got to talk about this like right now. We can't wait. So, man, I learned everything in those 100 days. It changed my whole life. Literally, it changed my life for the better.
That's amazing having this. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's I'm learning so much just listening to you talk, and I hope the people listening feel the same way. I mean, this is amazing, and I want to this next question is it's personal for me, so I'm very interested to kind of hone in on this specificness because you've kind of talked about it, throughout this entire conversation, but many people struggle with the shame, failure, past mistakes, myself included. What advice or practices do you give to someone who's at that rock bottom phase to kind of help kind of gain that confidence back, to help to have them trust in their own potential and just start rebuilding, right? It's one thing to feel like the end goal is 10 miles away, but how do you just get to that 1 mile, right? What are some things that you tell people when they're in that kind of rock bottom, I can't get out, there's no way out of this?
Yeah, thank you for your courage and sharing that this is also something that you feel. I know that's not easy. The first thing I share is always like, you're not alone. And I know that sometimes it can feel like I'm the only one going through some really hard stuff right now. And it makes us want to isolate. It makes us not want to share, but you're not alone. The second thing that I always share is the most courageous thing you're going to ever do is ask for help, because it takes a lot to go to someone and say, I am struggling and I just need someone to talk to. I just need some help. I don't even need anything from you, but man, can we grab a coffee? Can I just share what's going on in my life? One of the most beautiful things that I think will happen if we do that is we realize more people care about us than we think. More people want to help us than we think. That's why we go back to that list. Who's fighting in your corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those two revelations, I'm not alone. And there are people that will help me if I just have the courage to ask, right? But the way that we gain confidence, let me ask you guys a quick question. Performance coach, football, baseball coach, real quick, where do you feel like confidence comes from? And there's no right or wrong answers. You guys know this.
For me, a huge thing with confidence is it comes from preparation.
Okay, preparation's good. Okay, how about you, Praveen?
Yeah, preparation's one. Also, my supports, my circle.
Okay,
My circle's a big part, making me feel like, and I mean, kind of making me feel like I'm worth it, right? You know, my support circle is a big part of that.
Yeah, I love it. So let's say I am Wake Forest and I prepared all week, but I got to play Ohio State.
Good luck.
I'm probably super as prepared as I can be. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how confident I am. You know why? Because I've never actually beat Ohio State. I've never done that thing. And so for me, for the person that's at rock bottom, usually we're at rock bottom because we keep letting ourselves down. I'm going to start working out on Monday. I'm going to eat better this week. The minute we have a slice of pizza, I ruined it. I'm done. I failed. I missed a workout. And so we lie to ourselves more than we would ever accept someone else lying to us, and more than we would lie to someone else. So, from my perspective, the best way to build confidence is to start learning how to trust ourselves. And the best way to do that is stacking tiny wins. Hey, I'm going to work out today. I don't know about all week, but today, even if I just go for a 30-minute walk, I said I was going to do it and I did it. Oh, I can trust myself. Because if I was in your guys' life and every time I said I was going to do something, I didn't show up, it'd probably take you that long to be like, man, I can't trust Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But we do that to ourselves all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we do it, we knock ourselves down a little bit because every cell in your body is listening to every thought that you say, right? It's real. So
Mm-hmm.
every time you prove that you can't trust yourself, your body's like, yeah, I guess you're right. Your brain is like, yeah, I guess you're right. Can't trust me. So I think the best way to pull out of that is just to start stacking little wins, man, and get crystal clear. I was homeless in a Motel 6 in a city I used to be a star in.
Hmm.
Go back to Pooter High School and ask Rich Yonkers, Steve Bradley, Marty McVicker, say, name me the top 3 most special kids that you've ever coached. If I'm not first, I'll be second. I was a star here. Went to college, did all the things. I was sleeping in a Chevy Impala. And when I could scrounge up the money, I would sleep in the Motel 6. There was days when I literally had to decide, am I going to eat at the Waffle House or am I going to pay money so I can have a roof over my head? It was wintertime in Colorado. I walked up to a gas place one time and paid with $2.38 in change. That's where my life was at. I was at the lowest of the low. I didn't have anywhere to live. I didn't have food. I didn't have nothing. And one day I sat down in the Motel 6. I grabbed a little janky pencil, yellow one that's flat on the top and pointy on the bottom. And I grabbed the pad and I said, I'm not this person. But I need to figure out what I want my life to look like because right now this ain't it. I just watched some people do a meth deal next door. This ain't it for me. So I wrote it down. I said, I need a job. But I don't need a job. I need an opportunity. And I needed to have a salary because then I can budget and I can get my kids back with me. And I know how much money we're going to have every month. I want bonuses and commissions because I am exceptional at this sales thing and I want to get paid. I want to eat what I kill and I want to get paid for what I bring to the table. I want some benefits because I want us to go to the doctor and the dentist. And I need a car allowance because these people are about to repossess my car. And sometimes I sleep in there. So my car is my house is my car, and I need it. So every Wednesday I would go to this meeting called BNI, Business Network International. This man would pay me to go because he didn't want to go. And he said, hey man, you get to be inside every Wednesday. It's 3.5 hours long. So, and they feed you. So it seems like a win. And if business comes from it, I'll pay you a commission. He's like, I just hate those meetings. I said, bet I'll go. And no kidding, a week after I wrote on that piece of paper, this man stood up and I'll never forget him. His name is Heath Castendike. And he said, my name is Heath. I'm new to the group and I'm looking for a salesperson. This job has a salary, bonuses and commissions, full benefits, a $350 a month car allowance. And our biggest client is the Denver Broncos. If you're interested, come see me. I had that job 2 weeks later.
Wow, that's awesome.
And when I drove to my first day of training, it was in Denver. I didn't have enough gas to make it there and back, but God got me there and back. I was on the light the whole time. Crying my eyes out because I'm like, I'm going to run out of gas and lose this job, and I need this job. Imagine pulling up to your first day of work, gas light on E, and all your stuff in the back of your car. But I took that job and I took it serious and I sucked for the first year. About month 11, it clicked for me. I pulled in like 11 grand in sales commission, then 17. Next year, I averaged about 12,000 a month in sales commission. My biggest month was 55 grand. And I remember I got that commission check deposit. I went outside in the grass and I cried openly in front of everybody at my work. I just cried. And like I was the big dog in that office by then. And all the guys were like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Man, you don't understand. I was homeless when I started this job. This job changed my life, changed my children's life. But I changed my children's life too by showing up and working hard every day. I was the first one, the last one, right? Like that's a real thing. And so those are the things like that. That's how I changed. I got crystal clear, man. I just got tired of my own BS. I got tired of being the victim. I got tired of the pointing the finger of like, this. I was like, no, this is the problem right here. So if I'm the problem, I'm also the solution.
Joe, I love that story.
Incredible story. Incredible.
Thank you.
That was very deep. I appreciate you sharing that. And I also want to highlight, before I dive into this next piece, I want to highlight one of the incredible lessons that we all just learned is discipline. And it's the discipline to show up every day. It's the discipline to say, you highlighted getting the little wins. Those little wins come from having the discipline. I'm going to do this tomorrow and then do it. Now I trust myself and I'm instilling discipline. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to write down on my notepad. These are the things I need to do to get my family back to where it needs to be. And then execute day by day by day by day and not give up, because that crossroad of giving up is right at the intersection of success.
Yeah.
And it is a crossroad. And when you are ready to give up, if you can just be disciplined to go the extra day or 2 days, that's when you find your success. And I don't care who you talk to. There's so many leadership coaches and trainers and speakers. There's speakers making $50,000 to go talk to a group about that, and literally to say what I just said. And I'm giving it to y'all for free on a podcast. And Joe's giving it to you for free on a podcast. So let us tell you that.
Do you guys show this online?
Yeah.
Yes.
You do? Will you give me 1 second? I want to show you something.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Don't go nowhere.
We won't. We'll stay right here.
Joe's the man, dude.
Joe's awesome. And one of the big things we're seeing from this is that the resonance of discipline.
100%.
And the discipline it takes to succeed. Success is not an accident. Success is not the goal. The journey, you got to fall in love with the journey. You got to fall in love with the discipline. The success is a byproduct of all of that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So I keep these by the front door. So when I got that job, I was broke, right? But I needed dress clothes. So I could afford 1 pair of shoes. I got these at Ross and I wore them for my first year. I used to have to cold call every day, 20 doors every day, rain, sleet, or snow. And so I had these shoes. These are my shoes that I wore back then.
Oh, wow.
But look at the sole of this shoe.
Oh, wow.
This is what I was wearing to work. I wore these to work. This is how I wore the whole sole down.
That sole is gone.
No kidding.
Because this is what it takes to change your life.
Look at the edges worn.
This is what it takes to change your life. This is what it takes to change your life. No one's going to do it for you. This.
And
look at that shoe.
And for anyone that can't see this on air, what he just showed us was peeling back part of the sole of the shoe that was actually broke off. So if he was walking in snow or rain, his feet are 100% getting wet.
I mean, they still have like rain, wet marks on them, snow, but
I keep
these as a reminder.
Let me paint an even bigger visual. Those shoes are the crafting hammer used in Shawshank Redemption for Andy Dufresne to escape.
Yeah, literally.
It's worn down to the nub.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everyone's seen that movie because that's like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Those shoes are 12 years old, but I will never get rid of them. Because anytime I get a little big for my britches, I'll take a little look at those. Anytime I take on a new challenge, I look at them. I'm like, this is what it takes.
Those shoes are a great visual, and they're a great reminder. Because sometimes it is good for us to remember where we come from to get to where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, thanks for letting me share those with you guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
the thanks is all to you. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
letting us into your life and sharing the wisdom and the experience. Because if there's anything we know, that further preparation, the further learning we do, the further mental toughness we develop is also from the experience of others. And one of the things as a society that we need to learn to do sometimes is be quiet, sit down and listen and learn. And that's really what we're doing here today. So, coaching wise, I mean, whether life, business, fitness, you and I both know there's a balance that has to be struck
Yeah.
as far as people and everyone's different. Everyone takes different motivators. So, how do you find that balance with pushing people, yet protecting them mentally and their physical and emotional well being, but also literally driving them forward? So how do you really find that balance between being the motivator and being realistic about expectations? Because we don't want to set people up for failure. We want to set them up for achieving what they're trying to gain.
Yeah.
How do you balance that out?
Also another great question. You guys had great questions. I love what you sent over. So I give all the credit to my coaching certification. I have an executive coaching certification through CTI, which is the Coactive Training Institute, which is probably one of the gold standards of executive coaching certs on the planet. And it's changed how I move, how I communicate, and how I coach people. The old me thought I needed to save everybody. Oh, here, let me just tell you what to do. We're going to do this. I'm going to meet you at the gym every day at 4 o'clock. Blah, 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 blah. Like, no. Now I just ask better questions. So that's how I find the balance. Number one, so let's say I'm going to coach Praveen. Well, I have to design an alliance with Praveen on how he wants to be coached.
Mm-hmm.
Because how I want to coach you might not be the way you want to be coached, and I need to be effective for you. So do you want a more drill sergeant type with accountability? Do you need a softer touch? Do you want me to celebrate your wins? Do you like words of affirmation? Like, how do you want me to coach you? Because I'm just going to show up for you however you want me to. At the same time, my love isn't always nice, but it's kind. And the difference is nice is about being your friend. Kindness is about the posture of my heart. And if I care about you, I'm going to hold you accountable. If you care about me, you're going to hold me accountable. So it could be as simple as seeing one of my clients at the coffee shop the other day. She said, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm above. That's cool. That's awesome. It's a big goal, but I'm here for you. So when I walk in and I see you have a mountain of whipped cream this high on your coffee, I'm going to say, I'm not going to shame you in any way, shape, or form. I want you to live your life, but I'm going to say, tell me how that fits into what we were talking about with your goals. I want you to tell me. It's not for me to be like, hey, whipped cream bad. No. How does that fit in with what we talked about? Hey, you said you wanted to get a new job. How did you play Madden for 6 hours yesterday? How does that fit into that? And what was important about that to you versus, because people don't need actually me to tell them anything. You know, through CTI, we believe everybody is naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. So if I can just ask you the right questions, you'll figure out that you had it in you the whole time, right? But if you need me to be a little more tough with you, I can do that. But again, I need your permission to hold you accountable. I need your permission to challenge you, to reframe, to push back. And at the same last part of it is, I'm not a huge fan of like results-based language. So at my gym, for example, we don't talk about weight loss. We don't talk about fat loss. That's the result of the work and the mindset. So if we can do the hard work will follow. So even with people I coach, it's just more about like the human. So I coach the human, not the problem. If I can coach the person and not the problem eventually will work itself out. Because if someone has like stumbled over and over again, like let's say on a fitness journey, it's not that they're not motivated because they started 6 different workouts this year.
Right.
It's not that they're not motivated because they did keto 3 times for 3 weeks. So like they can do it, but something in here and something in here is off center and it's not in alignment with what they're trying to do. So who are you doing this for? So I just ask questions. But my job as a coach through CTI and what I really love is I have no agenda ever. My agenda is to be with you and to be wholly present. And whatever shows up, shows up. If you want to cry, you can cry. If you want to scream, you can scream. If you want to laugh, you can laugh. If you just want to sit in silence, stare at each other, we could do that too. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to get you where you're trying to go because I'm just going to walk alongside you. I'm Yoda. You're the hero.
That's extremely powerful. And one of the big things from something Coach Chadock just said, and you, Joe, it, putting your ego at the door, when you walk into a room and putting that to the side, and then being able to adapt to who you're working with. And one thing that pops up to me, Bill Belichick, we all know who Bill Belichick is every one of his teams was different. He didn't have really he's a defensive minded guy and he might have a scheme, whatever you might call it. But his to me, his goal was to look at who he's got in front of him. And we're going to take who we got and take their skills and use that to our advantage and win 6 Super Bowls. And I take a lot of what you were just saying is very similarly because you look at the person and what do they need to succeed because we all have it in us. And I love that you said that, is we all have it inside of us. It's finding it, and you're able to bring that out in people. I want to dive into something personal for you and looking back at something in your life. And what was the hardest fight? And it may have not been an actual fight. It could have been something in life that you had to fight, that you had to win internally or externally. And what did you learn from that fight that still guides you today, how you lead and mentor others?
I'm actually in that fight right now. The hardest fight of my life. You know, if we don't heal that inner child, the one that was abused, the one that was sometimes come home and there was no lights on, there was no water, he's just kind of always in there, like he's kind of steering the ship, whether we realize it or not. And I didn't realize I had so much inner child work to do that was affecting how I saw money, how I saw relationships. Um, and so I'm in that fight right now. I'm trying to heal him and let him know that he's okay, that his life is not chaos anymore, that he doesn't live in a dirty apartment that doesn't have running water or food, or that he's safe. Because it's challenging to feel safe when your whole life was chaos. I mean, I'm 50, but I was dead broke for 40 years of my life. I mean, even when I was at school, at Poudre High School, like there was a period of time I didn't even have parents at home. Nobody knew that. I didn't have food. I didn't have anything. I was just showing up every day. And I was too embarrassed to admit to the other kids that I got free lunch. So I just wasn't eating some days, right? Like that was life. I listened to Chris Rock a few years ago. He was telling a story about how when he first like really got some money, him and his wife, they move into this big house. And for like 7 months, he had all these boxes at the front door. And she was like, when are you going to unpack them boxes? And he said, I guess I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just waiting to get kicked out because that's what my whole life has been like. Like, I'm going to have to go from here. This is, and she's like, this is our place. And so I'm in that fight right now because that's one of the things that makes me overachieve to the point of that's all I focus on. It's one of the things that makes me see that the only way I add value in this world is if I'm performing, is if I'm producing results. It keeps me from saying, well, yeah, maybe this year I didn't do as well financially, so I'm a bad husband. But I'm not looking at the fact that I was supportive to my wife, that I make her feel safe, that I make her feel loved, that I'm there for her through everything that she's got going on, good, bad, or indifferent. Like those are also ways that I can be a supportive spouse, but it keeps me from seeing that. And so, this has been one of the hardest years of my life, but it's because I hadn't done that inner child work. So with therapy, I'm in the middle of that right now, and sometimes it's a struggle for me. So this is the hardest fight I've ever been in my life because I've just been performing forever since I was 6 years old on a front porch in Cheyenne, singing and dancing to Michael Jackson, just thinking that someone from Hollywood was going to come see me and take me away. Thank God they didn't. Now that I know more about Hollywood and Diddy and all them, like, thank God they didn't. But
You say that again.
I mean, I've been performing my whole life. Sports to me was performance. Having the big social media following, it turned into performance, and so now I'm just shedding that old identity, and with that comes a lot of things. Do I sell my gyms? Do I remove myself from I'm an entrepreneur, businessman, and just be like, hey, I'm just a dude that's a part of something cool with some other dudes. And I don't need anybody to even know that I'm involved as long as I'm adding value and I'm a good man. And I'm getting emotional because this is the identity, the role that we give to ourselves is sometimes our biggest limiting factor. The story we tell ourselves about who we are and who we have to be seen as valued and to be loved in this world. And so this is the hardest fight of my life.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very deep dive. And sometimes the hardest thing to tell ourselves is because we live in a world of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And social media magnifies this by about a million. And sometimes it's really hard to just tell ourselves, you know, something, you belong. You
Yeah.
belong and you have a great place here and you're impactful. And here's how you impact others. And here's why you are important. And here's why your community needs you. And here's what you give to your community. And we had a big talk earlier about community. So I know people know what I'm talking about now. But that's really big. And I wish you well in
Thank you. Thank you.
your journey to find that balance, because that's a hard balance, and I think we all have those inner demons that we fight,
Boy,
and
I'll tell you what.
that's a hard balance.
Yeah.
I know I have them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a tough balance. And one of the things that I think would be great to close with, and I know we're getting to the end of this now, and we're about to close out. What is for our leaders out there, what is a leadership principle from your life or coaching philosophy that you feel that you believe in that is misunderstood, and why it is important?
Feel that one of the biggest ones that's misunderstood is that we have to make sure that people feel safe failing.
Hmm.
I think that oftentimes as leaders, we want to make sure that nobody fails and nothing goes wrong. And I feel like we have to make people feel safe failing.
Mm-hmm.
2015, Jeff Bezos said, I want to make Amazon the greatest place in the world to fail. And so one of our principles are in it. So we have core values for the gym. And one of them for the internal team is be first. Like, if it's a decision under this amount, don't ask me, don't come to me, just do it. And if it's a wrong decision, oh well, it cost us $150, whatever. You gave someone a free pair of gloves, like who cares? Now, if it's $1,500, we should probably talk. But I just think that oftentimes people are so petrified to make a choice, so they do nothing. And then we just stand still forever and ever and ever. So I think that one of the biggest things as leaders is like it's okay to fail. I think oftentimes also the leader doesn't want to be seen failing. They want people to think every decision they make is the right decision versus like, hey guys, here, first of all, I can't do this without you. Second of all, I don't want you to have to run to me to make every decision. I trust you. That's why you're here. I believe in you. Therefore, move fast and break shit. Sorry for cursing, but and if it doesn't work out, it's easier to fix a 2-minute decision than a 2-year decision. We'll sort it out. But I need you to feel safe failing. So that's what I think is one of the biggest is I think just people are afraid to, I don't even necessarily think people are afraid to fail. I think they're afraid to fail in public. And so to me, that's one of the biggest misunderstood is that we have to be right all the time and everything has to work all the time. Because you guys know everything works about 15% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And 70% of the time we're trying to figure out why it didn't work. And the rest of the time it's like we're just doing other stuff because we just want to take a break from it. So that would be to me the biggest misconception is that everything has to be right and that nobody gets to fail. I would rather create a space where people feel okay failing because they know that they're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. More importantly, we're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, thank you, man. I mean, I'm blown away just talking to you, listening to you talk, man. I mean, we were talking about off air about how sometimes we as leaders, who's coaching the coach, right? We're
Yeah.
coaches, who's coaching the coach, and I feel like I'm getting a full dive in lesson as that as we're the ones trying to tell people what I'm getting. Just hopefully our listeners are feeling the same way I'm feeling because, I'm blown away, and I really appreciate you sharing everything. And, just really a deep dive into in what life's about, and how to kind of navigate through things. And the failing part is huge. I mean, it's a part of life, right? So it's learning to embrace it, and learning to just learn from it. And it's not wins and losses, right? It's wins and lessons, all the different sayings that people have. But I think a lot of people can learn a lot from what you have to say of the checking the egos, and taking a step back, and filling your cup, and being, the most selfless thing you can do is putting you first. And I've heard my sister say that, and I can finally tell her she's right, because Joe Buckner said so. So I'm gonna share this podcast with her, and she's gonna. I told you, Praveen. I've been telling you for years, but I
Third party
really
validation.
appreciate you, man, and I'm looking forward to hearing so much more and learning so much more from you. But
Yeah.
really, I appreciate it, and thank you.
I appreciate you guys for having me. I'm honored to be here with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. This has been wonderful, and I appreciate the lessons that you taught us.
Yeah, thank you.